back, everybody, to this week's episode of Doing with Styles. And we're here in Las Vegas. And you know what? One of the things that Las Vegas is known for? Wedding chapels. And people come in here to get married. So I was going to get married, but I couldn't find anybody that said yes. And unfortunately, I have checked out this wedding officiant. And I thought that, well, if I couldn't, have her officiate at my wedding, I'd at least have her on and see what's going on here in town with the weddings. So I'd like to introduce Reverend Maria. Is that correct?
That's correct. And, thank you. And I like to use the term, somebody called me an aficionado. I thought it was a cigar, right? When you think of an aficionado, which I think
that would be somebody that really digs weddings.
Really digs weddings.
Yeah.
But, and I do.
Okay.
Unfortunate because you talked about Vegas is known for weddings. We're the wedding capital of the world. We've actually coined that phrase. That's been trademarked. And I started about 15 years ago. And I always keep tally about how many weddings I've done. So when I started, it was hard. Oh my gosh. It was so hard, John, because you had to get a license as a minister. It was a little different.
Right.
Had to be affiliated with a religious organization. Now it's different. It's a lot easier, but you still have to be licensed because it's a business. And I went pounding the streets in Las Vegas, and nobody really would hire me. My neighbors across the street were in the wedding industry business. They did hair and makeup, which of course, is necessary.
Yeah.
So what happened was they hooked me up. I went to a wedding chapel called Viva Las Vegas. It's been around forever. Ron Dakar and his husband Jamie own it. And
I know Ron.
Yep, you're probably right. He's been around a long time. I know his mom. I see him at church.
Oh, okay, cool.
Every week.
Next time you see him, tell him I said hi.
I definitely will. So anyway, to make a long story short, they said, "Oh, come on in. We'll have you watch some of our weddings." So I got to see what the weddings look like. So my first wedding was on Halloween that I got to view, and let me tell you, this is not the way I want to get married, but you have to remember, we have people from all over the world. The Grim Reaper married this couple. So the Grim Reaper was in a coffin on stage with the smog, the fog coming up, and he rolls out, and he has that voice, and he marries the couple. It's like, okay, I'm not that type of wedding officiant, but I give kudos to those in the industry that definitely can either imitate,
right,
the imposter, as
right.
you say.
The Elvis.
Elvis it's wonderful. What's your thoughts on that?
I was just going to say, I know a half a dozen people that would love to have had the Grim Reaper. And I think it's great because, number one, in most cases, it's something you're going to remember your entire life, whether it lasts a year or 100 years. It's a day that you're going to look back on, and I did almost remember everything that happened that day, and so I think that's cool. That and maybe it's just that you just want somebody to stand up there and say, okay, you do, okay, you, okay, there you go, that's it. But I don't think people come to Vegas for that.
Interestingly enough, when I started 15 years ago, and again, going back to being at Viva Las Vegas, I worked for them just once in a while.
Right.
But they had me train under a one officiant, I won't mention who her name is, just to show me what her style was. And she was the type, she would tell the couple, I'm going to have you say, I do, I give a blessing, I'm going to take the rings, and that's it. And I thought, coming from the customer service industry, I was in the rent-a-car industry for so many years, I thought, oh my gosh, this really is no personalization, no customer service. Yeah. And I was taken back by that. And then I kept pounding the streets and finally got into a couple of chapels. The only way I got in, because it was a very male-dominated, still is a male-dominated industry in a lot of ways. People said, well, you do commitment ceremonies because same-gender wasn't legal.
Right.
And that's how I broke into business. That's how I started.
Really?
Yep. And what the chapel managers, the people that were doing the planning, and also the ones that were there putting together the ceremonies, the day of staff, the coordinators, they liked my style because I spoke to the couple, and I took time. I took a few minutes with them. Tell me about your love story. Tell me about how you met. Those are things that people love. Like you said, this is the day you remember I don't remember mine. But
Especially if it's
I
a
don't know.
commitment ceremony.
Yeah, commitment ceremony.
Because that's something that, it's like, well, I understand, yeah.
No, but I mean, I go back and flashback when I got married to my late husband Frank, and that was, oh my gosh, I was in my 20s. We're going back 40 some odd years ago. I don't know if I remember every day, but I do remember I got married at Church of the West.
Okay.
Which was by the Hacienda Hotel, which was a great, fun chapel. And all I remember is my dad walking me down, Frank was there, I do. And nowadays, you're right, people really want the experience. Like you said, there are people that would love to get married by the Grim Reaper. So everyone coming today is looking for that experience. And whether you're doing a ceremony in a chapel, I also work with Maverick Helicopters, I get to go to the Grand Canyon.
I've seen some of the pictures on your website, yeah, that's
those.
pretty cool.
The Valley of Fire, we do them over the Strip. I mean, and that's what we're seeing more of. People they'll pay more for the experience.
Right.
Because they're gonna remember every detail.
Well, and the cool thing is, they don't have to go to some place that you're at, you will go to wherever they're at, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I say, yeah. So,
Oh, yeah, I'm mobile, so I don't have a chapel in my
Right.
home. And it was interesting because last week when I was introduced at the Wedding MBA show here in Las Vegas, I spoke. And they put down in my bio that I had officiated over 7,000 weddings. So
how many?
7,000.
Holy moly.
Oh, let me tell you, I bet if you talk to Ron Descartes, he's done 3 to 4 times as many.
Oh, I'm sure.
But because
No, but he's got a little chapel there.
Right.
You know.
But I work with a chapel of Flowers. I'm dedicated to them on the weekend, so a lot of volume is done there. And what I like about that chapel that I work out of, it's not a 5-minute ceremony. We really try to personalize it. So their ceremonies are every half hour, so I get to spend at least, 12, 14 minutes for an actual ceremony, which gives people something to remember.
Right.
Because everybody seems to have these moments of everything they want it to be Instagram moments. So they don't want anything that long, but they want to make sure whatever you're doing is powerful.
Right.
Which I think is important. But it's interesting. So when they introduced me and they said 7,000 weddings, and I know the officiants are going, how does she do that? And they don't understand the business model. They think moving here, you're going to get thousands of weddings. It took me a long time to really build up to this point.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah, it did. And really mastering what I do.
Right.
And I have to tell you, I really love what I do. I mean, there's nothing better than a couple walking away, you meet them and they're happy, and then they're on steroids happy.
Yeah. So how many of the people that you've married are you still in contact with, or have come back and said, hey, here's a picture of our 10th anniversary or something like that?
I had a couple that sent me a picture of their baby
not
too long ago. But most of the people that I do work with, I don't necessarily have access to their emails and stuff. They have my information.
Right,
I will get afterwards sometimes additional thank you notes because my address is on the license.
Gotcha.
But most of the time, most of the couples I meet are contracted through hotels or through the chapel, so I'm not privy to that. But I have to tell you, I had a couple who actually requested me to perform their ceremony at Chapel of Flowers, and besides they pay extra because when they request you, they also brought me this beautiful mug that said, you are the best officiant ever. So they had faith in me before I even did the ceremony.
And this was their first time, right?
Yes.
It wasn't like, they each had you before with some other. That's cool. So is there one wedding that you've done that kind of sticks out in your mind that you go, wow, that was the best one I've ever done?
There was something, let me think for a second, because I've done several ceremonies that really, probably this one I just did not too long ago.
Okay.
A couple got married here in Vegas. I don't remember their name, and their love story really touched me. So I asked, how did you meet, right? And she said, well, they told the story. So he was a retired police officer. He was also in the military, but he was a retired police officer. And he used to go around to different like cancer treatment centers to make young children feel good.
Right.
So he would dress up like as Superman, as Spider-Man, as a hero.
Right.
So they did a story on him. I guess there was a news story done, and this woman who happened she's a CFO of a large dental group. She's a dentist, but she said, I'd like to work with them to give back to these patients.
Yeah.
That, these children that have cancer, some sort of, dental, needs and procedures, which I thought was great.
Right.
That's how they met each other. It goes further. She also is a breast cancer survivor and then had breast cancer again the second time.
Oh, wow.
So their story was amazing, and they're together, and you can tell when they wrote their vows. I mean, the love that was there, but that was a unique story. That's how they met.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have those stories
Mm-hmm.
that you get privy to in a lot of cases.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
People meet at
Okay,
work.
so when are you going to write your book?
I thought I don't write about, there's so many stories, but actually I think really what it boils down to is couples that are getting married need to write their love story and
Right.
record it. And I think that's a beautiful way of putting it together. But yes, I've seen some very interesting ones, and but you kind of shake your head. I mean, you have people that come to Vegas that know each other 2 months.
Yeah.
A month.
Where they meet here over the weekend.
Oh, I do have one story I have to
Okay.
tell. I told this one at Wedding MBA. I don't think anybody.
See, I knew these would be good ones.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is Vegas, and one thing as an officiant, we cannot be judgmental. Okay.
Right.
I mean, that's what we see. We do same-sex ceremonies, transgender ceremonies. I mean, that happens. Okay, and that's okay. They're people. They're in love with each other. Their souls coming together. So I walked into one of the Chapel of Flowers a couple of years ago, and the photographer was coming out. He had just met with the couple. He goes, he says, Maria, wait till you see the bride's outfit. And I thought, okay, no big deal. We have
Right.
brides. So I walk in, I sit down, and there's a gentleman, I would say he was in his late 40s, assuming I didn't look at the license at the time. She was probably maybe 30. And she had on a oversized man's jacket, so it covered her here, but you can see she had on white stockings and she had on high heels.
Okay.
And I said, you look adorable. Right, what do I know? So first clue was this, how did you meet? Oh, we met on a website. Oh, really? Which dating site? OnlyFans? And I went, now I didn't know what OnlyFans was. That should have been my first clue.
So you didn't know at the time what OnlyFans was?
I said, that's nice. And when did you meet 6 months ago? Oh, he goes, yeah, the first time I met her, I flew her down to Florida to go to a large corporate event that I was part of. And I'm thinking, well, that must have been interesting, right? Yeah. They meet online. He flies her down from New York. Okay. But they're in love. So I get, okay, fine. Then I go outside. I go into the gazebo. And it's just him, the photographer, videographer. He has one guest. And then she walks in, and my jaw almost dropped, because I didn't see her without the jacket on. She had on, the thigh highs were beautiful. She had on a corset from here to here, white, with those beautiful bones they had see-through, and nothing underneath. So I had to keep my eyes focused from the neck up. Oh my God, but you know what? They were happy. And even though, yes, it's something that very risque, people feel comfortable when they come to Vegas.
Yeah.
And we're not going to gawk at them.
Right.
That's the key thing. I marry men, full beards, okay, in wedding gowns, and, they have a veil. You don't gawk. Okay, that's the key thing. You make people feel comfortable. And I think that's the key thing. Letting them know, we're here to make your day special.
That's awesome. That's great. I had another question and I forgot because you made me laugh.
Okay. I'm glad I made you laugh. I hope I'm making you laugh too.
Okay, so how could people get a hold of you? It's like, okay, I wanna go get married at the Grand Canyon, or I wanna go get married in Tombstone, Arizona, and I want to find somebody that would, come and marry us. And how would they get a hold of you? How would they find you?
TrueLoveKnots.com.
Okay.
So it's TrueLove, and then it's KNOTS.com.
Okay. Like the knots.
Like the knots.
Like the love knots, or
exactly.
okay. All right. And that's your website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is pretty cool because you not only do the officiation, if you want to call it
Yes,
officiation,
aficionado.
officiate, but you've also got some cool stuff on there. I mean, you have like some jewelry and some other
Well,
offerings. Can you talk about that?
yeah, of course, I'd love to. So
Okay.
what's interesting is, when you start officiating, you
The
get
bracelets I liked, right?
Thank
By
you,
the way,
the True Love,
those were nice.
I didn't wear one today. I'm very remiss, but I have True Love Knots bracelet. So one of the things that I started to do is after a while, you start to get proficient at what you do. And when I started in this industry, first of all, there wasn't anybody out there that was willing to train me. I reached out to a couple of people and they didn't really want to train me on how to officiate because they would felt that I would take business away from them. There's so much business here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't go to one hairdresser and that one hairdresser doesn't support the whole city.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. So I finally realized I created a course on how to officiate wedding ceremonies. I have a video course. It's a $37 course that you can take. And at 37 minutes, $37. First of all, number one, there are people that maybe you want to do a ceremony for one of your family members. You just want to get a license,
Right.
one and done license, and officiate for them because the paperwork needs to be legal. And you need to, of course,
Yeah.
certify it. So
you walk them through the whole
right,
process.
what I do is depending upon where they're from, I tell them they need to find out what the requirements
Right.
are. For Vegas, I can tell them.
Right.
For pretty much Nevada.
Right.
As far as anything out of here, just find out what the requirements are. But if you want to do the ceremony properly, it's a 37-minute video, which is great.
Right.
And most people think, because also at the chapels that I work out, is sometimes other people bring in their own minister, their own officiant.
Right.
That maybe because they're a family member, maybe they're a professional speaker, maybe they present. Completely different when it comes to officiating wedding ceremonies. And the reason I say that is most people don't recognize, number one, there's a whole procedure for the processional
Right.
when the wedding party walks down. And then, of course, are you standing for what maybe partner B is walking in, assuming partner A could be the groom, but partner B can be the groom.
Right.
Or partner A can be the groom, and then you have, the bride. So you need to know first the logistics with that. You also need to know who's holding the rings, right? Also,
Now, these are things that you work out with
right,
those people
right,
involved.
but right away I know. Like,
Right.
I'll ask them who's holding the rings. who's
Right,
the
that's what I
coordinator.
mean, yeah.
Besides that, you have to work with other vendors. You have a photographer. You have a videographer.
Right.
So they need to know your style. So they know when to zoom in, when to take a picture. I have certain times in my ceremony, the photographers know when I'm going to say something that the couple's going to laugh.
Right.
They capture those moments. So if somebody that's never done this before, you need to be able to work those moving parts. You need to be able to take control of the room because you're the person that's really the most influential walking in. As well, if something were to happen or somebody says something that's out of place, I mean, things like that do happen.
Yes.
Where you just take control of the room. So there's so many moving parts on how to start a wedding ceremony, getting to, sharing, why marriage is important, them exchanging vows, the rings, if they decide to do a unity candle, a hand fasting, if they want to do a sand ceremony. There's so many things culturally that you need to be familiar with that people want you to do, where somebody new doesn't necessarily know that. And then, of course, how to properly pronounce them, not to stay in the picture frame when they're exchanging rings, when they're first kissed, or when a bride or could be a groom being presented by their family, staying out of that frame in the beginning. So there's so many parts and people don't realize it. There's a lot of things.
Excuse me, which brings up a point where you have different denominations or different cultures and they have different traditions and, knowing what those are or finding out what those are and doing a little bit of homework.
Right, and
So-
sometimes you don't have it, your homework is you go to your phone because you're just finding out.
Right.
But it's interesting because it's true. For example, the first time I had to do they call it a hand fasting ceremony, and one woman brought in all these ribbons, and I mean, I screwed it up so bad. I screwed up so bad. And it made me think, I need to be better prepared,
Right.
and that's the key thing. And you're right. For example, in the Filipino culture, they present, I think a ducks or geese? Geese, they mate for life.
Right.
So they have these wooden, birds, they're
Right.
ducks that they like to also present. They have in the Hispanic culture, and even sometimes They have the lasso ceremony with the rosaries,
Right.
7 coins that they have that represent different parts of, you taking care of the wife, you taking care of the family, you making sure that they have enough money, they have food. So there's so many, breaking of the glass
Yes.
in the
Jewish, yeah.
And you know what's interesting too?
And the
It's
jumping the broom.
Jumping the broom, I do that. And I like to take the time, what I like to do is I just don't say, and we're going to break the glass. This is the last time you're, stomping your foot on the floor. I actually will tell the guests, because not everybody could be Jewish that's
Right.
in that room, that the reason this particular process is put in, part of their culture, and why, is because the breaking of the glass symbolizes what the Israelites went through in order to save their city, and what they suffered, and that also how fragile love is, and that you could never put these pieces back together again to take care of the love that you have for each other. I mean, there's so many beautiful things about when you get to learn about the culture.
That's cool.
But yeah, it is cool. Now we use a light bulb in a little pouch. So
It breaks easier.
it breaks easier.
Easier
But
to clean
that's,
up too.
But I think it's interesting that what I love about Vegas is we have so many different cultures that come here, and we are exposed as officiants to these different cultures, and because we do so many ceremonies that we're able to think quickly on our feet, and I think that gives us an advantage too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that you have to be flexible, and you have to be, because things can change that fast.
Right.
And you just never know until all of a sudden it's like everything that we planned has just gone out the window.
So there's always 2 types of ceremonies.
Yes.
There's the one the couple plans and the one that actually happens. Okay, that is a given, and people don't realize that because you want this picture perfect storybook moment,
Right.
Where you plan this day and you can't wait. It could rain. Somebody might miss their flight.
Yep.
Right? You might have forgotten the rings. Forget the marriage license. Sometimes that happens too. So we do a commitment ceremony, then they come back with the marriage license and we pronounce them. There's so many variables. You get to see personalities come out too.
Bridezillas?
Well, not just the bridezillas,
No,
but it's interesting because if you have an opportunity, many officiants, depending upon their business model, they get to meet the couple beforehand, whether Zoom or in person.
Right.
And they'll talk to them about, are there going to be guests that are going to be emotional? Are they going to be happy or otherwise? Because sometimes you're dragged to a ceremony and you're not happy who that person has chosen. It could be your daughter and you're not happy with who they chose as their partner for life.
Yeah, that must be fun.
It happens, and I can tell you, I see this more when I'm doing same gender ceremonies and when I'm dealing with multiple generations. Because the younger generations, this is very common.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
They're very common with the fluidity of people either being gay, lesbian, transgender, queer, and also you have cultures, right?
Right.
You have different cultures and races that come together. But I can tell you that I've been several times when I have performed wedding ceremonies and I meet the couple and they're fabulous and they're same gender, and then I walk into the ceremony and you can cut the tension. The front row, you can tell with a knife.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to just not take on their energy.
And that can be tough sometimes,
It
because
is.
when you walk into a room like that, and especially if you are
Hostile.
at all sensitive to what's going on around you, that can be some nasty stuff to deal with.
It's true when you really take a moment and you think about this, because they really shouldn't be there. If they're not happy,
Right.
then when you go to find therapy, come back again, and later on do the ceremony, and it's like, yeah, I'm okay with this now. No, but seriously, because they don't recognize it shows on their faces.
Right.
And we're videoing, and we're also taking pictures. And usually they're people that are very close to the couple, and they're sitting in the front row too. So what I've learned, and we have mirror neurons, so we can pick up the energy. So I've learned to take my energy and just constantly push it back out there, ignore, and it's hard because you're zapped afterwards. But I just kind of ignore the front row. I hate to say that, and I just focus on it, the couple and anybody else that's there. Because when they come to Vegas, 90% of our weddings are people that have traveled to come here. They've taken the time.
Right.
And I like to incorporate the guest. I think that's important.
Yeah.
They've taken the time, right?
Yeah.
They've flown here, they've spent money, they've dressed, they're spending money for a gift, whatever, and maybe they're not getting paid in their business.
Yeah.
So I really feel it's important to make everybody feel welcome, not just the couple, also the guests too, and virtual guests, because they're taking the time as well
Exactly.
to watch. Yeah.
And do you, I mean, suppose you had a couple comes to you, or, you know, that maybe knows you or is referred to you or something, and they go, you know what, we really don't know what we want to do, but we want to do something special. Can you help them, like, figure out, you know, let's do this or let's do that, or?
Well, I think, it's important to find out what their vision is.
Right.
And sometimes we have these beautiful visions of very expensive champagne, but we
Right.
definitely can only afford a 6-pack of beer, and that's okay, because I think by making it special is really taking the time with the couple and finding out their love story. And what's great today is we have access to AI.
Yep.
We can actually write a beautiful poem with their love story, make it into a limerick. We can write their love story and really personalize the ceremony right away for them. But it depends upon their venue. But we are finding that more, especially your Gen Z generation and your millennials, they really want the experience. So they'll save the money and do a Grand Canyon experience as well, which is a few $1,000s.
But that's just it. That's not as expensive. I mean, I've seen people spend $25,000
Yeah, right.
in a local chapel here that I thought, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know, number one, you could have taken half that money, had a much better experience, gone to Hawaii.
Well, you know what's interesting too is like what we're seeing is with these couples is they'll spend like I think it's $5,000 or $6,000 to fly to the Grand Canyon. You have 8 passengers, including the pilots. You have to remember you have the couple.
Right.
You bring the officiant there, and you might have photos. So it leaves you with limited guests,
Right.
which is okay. But
Unless you want to rent another helicopter.
yeah, and we've had that too.
Yeah.
And even then, and then afterwards, then they all go to dinner after. But the experience is wonderful. I mean, you're in one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
Yeah.
Getting married. Think about that.
If you've ever seen the Grand Canyon, you know how impactful it can be.
And when you
that
see it
experience.
from the level, because we fly in on the Hualapai
Oh, okay.
terrain, okay, we land down close to the Colorado River.
Right.
So we're actually there, on a plateau on the bluff side where you can overlook that. It's completely incredible. The same thing, we also fly to Red Rock. So there's a property we land on, Jim Rhodes' property,
Right.
parallel. So we fly.
I know where it's at.
Exactly, and we fly. You're flying alongside of the red. You get to be up close and see these red. So
Yeah.
then you land. You overlook. The backdrop is all of Las Vegas. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
The same thing when we go to Valley of Fire, which is one of my favorites. That was one of my first ones I did with Maverick. You fly to one of the highest rock formations. You land there. There's a picnic table there. No, you can't get down unless you have to be in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Or unless you're roped down.
Right.
So there's no way you can get down, and it's breathtaking. So all of this, you can walk into the most glamorous setting in a ballroom with flowers and candles and everything. The experience is so different.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I understand
so
that.
different, yeah,
And you as the officiant gets to experience that
all the time.
all the time.
And I never get tired. And then I do on the high roller, the
Okay.
big Ferris wheel. I've done them all the way to the stratosphere. And I just think it's interesting.
How long is the trip on the wheel?
It's 28 minutes, 29
Okay.
minutes. And you don't even feel it.
So that's basically a ceremony.
You're in a
Right.
pod,
Right.
yeah. Well, you give them about 10, 12 minutes for the ceremony. Then they take pictures.
Right.
And they're-
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And again, that's a little less expensive, but you're giving people an experience because when you go up in that pod,
Yeah.
you can also see the sphere. And the sphere, when you're looking at it, is so distracting anyway. Right? If you're driving down the strip, anybody watching you, know what
I
it's
know.
like, right? Spring Mountain Road. You're busy looking, you're wondering if you're not going to get into a car crash. But it is, but from the air, like when I do a wedding over the strip with Maverick, it is incredible. The experience, the view is nothing like it, especially when it's evening time after the sun has set. Just beautiful.
But is there, you find that there's more daytime weddings or night weddings?
Oh, well, there's both. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the ones on the high roller, more late afternoon, early evening,
Okay.
because they want to get that sunset on
Yes.
that western exposure. And with the helicopter ones, it's coming back from the Grand Canyon or even Red Rock or from Valley of Fire. They more sunset weddings are
Right.
the ones that couples want, coming in and seeing the sunset, which is breathtaking. But you get the most when you're over the strip in a helicopter in the evening.
Yeah.
And if a couple pays for a double loop, unbelievable, because then you get to perform the ceremony, because the loop is only about 12 minutes. So
Yeah.
you have to shorten the ceremony so they can enjoy the view. But if they pay for the double loop, you can lengthen the ceremony, which they're not. And then they're looking at this. Oh my gosh, it's just so breathtaking.
Have you ever done anything out at Bonnie Springs before they closed down?
No, I never did.
That could have been fun.
I've been out to that ghost town. What is it? Is it Nelson's Landing? They have the
Oh, yeah.
yes, I've been there, but that's like
That's
a
north
hazard.
of
Yeah.
here, yeah.
Yeah, it's down, well, no, it's not north. It's the one that's over on the way to Searchlight. And it's like it's Nelson, it's the area with the.
Nelson, okay,
They have,
yeah.
it's almost
I-
like going to Neon Museum,
Right.
but it's
Right,
like a big barnyard. You gotta, it's walking around, but they have this area, this little chapel. And I don't know, it's an antique, they actually brought it, I don't know where they got it from, but it's just beautiful. It seats about 20 people.
okay,
And the stained glass is just amazing. I mean, there are people that want that very eclectic,
Yeah.
very different type of experience, and it's a great venue for pictures. I will say that. You have to go daytime. In the evening, there's nothing out there.
right.
You're going to Searchlight, and you turn down this road, and you go down for like 10 miles. There's nothing there, and I can tell you, I don't like driving there. Like that.
Yeah.
But-
What's the farthest you've gone from here? From Vegas?
When I used to drive to the Valley of Fire when I worked with one company, now I fly, thank God.
Right.
And also, just last week I performed a wedding ceremony. So this was my 11/11 day
Okay,
last week. So I'll tell you, and this is a true wedding officiant story. So I started my day. I promised one of the planners that I would perform her wedding ceremony on 11/11, and it was at 8:00 in the morning at Mount Charleston. So it was cold. I had to leave the
Yeah.
house early. I went there, and that was 75 miles. So by
yeah,
the time I got done, but it was over an hour. And it was really interesting. I hadn't been up there for a few years, how they have really increased, first of all, the housing
yes,
that's even growing up alongside of the mountain. So if anybody hasn't been out there, you need to take a ride. You don't feel like you're lost, right?
Yeah.
You have cell service the whole time. From there, I came home, and then I jumped on a helicopter, and I went to the Grand Canyon with Maverick. I got back at 1:30, went home, fed my dogs, and then I went over to the Flamingo Hilton, the Chapel of Flowers, came back to Maverick Helicopters, and did 2 back-to-back nighttime weddings over the Strip.
oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. The day in the
So
life
that was
of
busy.
Las Vegas wedding officiant, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. So what is the thing that gives you the most joy in doing what you're doing? What is the thing that just makes your heart go, wow?
You know what, really, I have to tell you, what I love is when I have a couple tell me, wow, I felt as if you knew who we were. And it's a matter of, you don't have to spend a lot of time, and this is where the rest of the world outside of Vegas and the officiating industry doesn't understand. If you know how to connect with people,
Yep.
and make them feel like you're really listening to them and looking at them and talking to them, you can pick up who they are. You get to study people that way. When I have them say, wow, you nailed it, that makes all the difference. And then, of course, you hear the guests when they come up to you and say, it was the best ceremony I've ever been to. And that's one side of it. But then also, too, is the next day, sometimes I'll run into the couple if I'm working at the chapel, and they'll say, we were talking about the highlight of our day was the wedding. And that's the key thing, is remembering that the wedding officiant kicks off the trajectory of your day
Yeah.
and for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
And when I train officiants, so I like doing that. I also love when I'm training officiants or even speaking to seasoned officiants. Think about this for a moment. You're performing a wedding, and it could be video, right? Or
Mhm.
somebody's videoing it.
right,
You have photos. And then maybe the couple has some bumpy roads in their relationship. Maybe they listen to the video. Something happens and rekindles it. When I'm performing a wedding ceremony and I say certain things, I see audience members, they'll grab their partner's hand, they'll go, it's almost rekindling something, but it goes further than that. Years later, one person could be gone. And they go back and fondly remember those memories. And then maybe they're both gone. And somebody in the family takes those photographs and preserves them and they see their faces, or they go back and listen to the video. So it's really a legacy.
and they
book.
remember why.
They remember, right, and they remember what it was about. And your words, what you say, if it's on video, can really jump out at them and not just make you think fondly it could have been your grandparents.
Yeah.
Or you weren't their great-grandparents, and make you think about how important love is. And it's a legacy of love. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about this. That's what I love about the business.
Yeah. I can dig it, and that's it's kind of, how am I trying to say this? How you say what you say can make all the difference in the world. And instead of just standing up there and repeating the words, whatever those words are, how you convey that to the couple can mean a lot. Can it not?
Well, I'll tell you, that's one thing I preach when I'm teaching officiants, is I call the 5 Ps. Pronunciation, pace, pause, power. Pronunciation, pace, pause, power, and what's the 5th one? Okay, right now it'll pronunciation, pace, pause, power, passion. Okay, and that's the key thing when you're officiating. Because I can be up here talking to you like I really don't care, but I can be up here and talking to you like I care about what you're telling me too and what I say, and that's the difference.
Can make all the
It
difference.
makes all the difference of
Right.
really being present.
Because they can walk away going, well, that was boring.
It was. I
Anticlimactic,
don't
you
mean
know?
to say that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put down any other. Officiants also, they have a script. I
Sure.
don't use a script.
Right.
I have 3 or 4 basic ceremonies. If somebody wants me to integrate something, I think on my feet quickly, I remember, and I integrate it in. It takes years to do that. Okay, It's almost like improvs, but I learned to improv when it comes to ceremonies, which is great.
And improv is one of the most important things that you can have in your life,
That's true.
because it can affect everything that we do. If you are able to improvise in the moment, you're gonna end up being a winner.
Well, I can improvise when it comes to a wedding ceremony, but if 2 months ago I spoke at a convention, and they had an event on the outside, which I was invited to, was to go to a real improv, I sucked. So, now, when it comes to weddings, I can improv, but when it comes to something out of my comfort zone, I sucked. I'm going to be very
But
honest.
that's okay. You'll get it. You'll get it. It just takes a little time
But
sometimes.
and it's so true, and I think the key thing is just really being present.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be animated, you don't have to come out there singing a song, but you just really need to be present and connect with people.
And pay attention.
Pay attention. That's the key thing. Pay attention to what's going on. Observe.
Yeah.
Observe is the biggest thing.
I like that. So, what else are you? And I don't. What else do you offer as an officiant?
So, first of all, I do, as you know, officiating. I also offer coaching. I have a membership for people that have been officiating. And what I do is I try to bring new tools and skill sets to them to make their life easier. Right now we're in a world, as you know, John, AI is changing every single day.
Yeah.
And it's coming at us faster and faster. I can't even keep up with it. But there are tools that officiants can use to make their life easier so they can focus on being present, have more time going out and cultivating relationships and, networking so more people know about them.
Right.
So that's one thing. I have a membership. And then I wrote a book. So I am a widow. And I've been a widow for 14 years, and I wrote a book during the pandemic from going from just one to a plus one. And I didn't write this. This is the time when I had to write it. Okay, and then I sent it off to Amazon. I got my ISBN number. I learned how to place it in a certain category, so it became a bestseller in 2 categories.
Right.
So you learn a bit about the publishing industry, which I would like to write a book again, not necessarily about that.
But what was the name of the book again?
Going from just one to a plus one. And it's about getting back.
And you can get that on Amazon, right?
You can get my website or Amazon.
Okay.
And if you,
But go to the website and buy it, because that way Amazon doesn't get their cut.
well, but also too,
No,
if they buy it from my website, I usually will, if I mail it to them, I throw in my True Love Knots bracelet.
Oh, cool.
Which is what we were talking about. So, True Love Knots, actually, the way I came up with the name of my company, Love Knots, was derived from my late husband. When I started officiating in 2010, and he passed in 2012, I said, I'm looking for a name, I want to do this, and he said, well, what about Love Knots? He said, because when the sailors used to sail out, go away for a long period of time, which is going back centuries, right? He said they would tie these love knots on the sail to know that their love was with them, and they would come back home safely. And so I love that.
That's cool.
So that's how I got that name. And then I thought about, the bracelet, and what I do is the bracelet is blessed with love by me to wear with love.
Yeah.
So that it brings you love.
Yeah.
So, but the book was an interesting, I wrote about it, sort of like a Reader's Digest version of getting back in the dating world.
Right.
How to put yourself out there, how to, maneuver on the dating apps, how to, if you meet somebody that's a widow or a widower, completely different, type of experiences that they've gone through versus divorce.
Right.
Or somebody that's been just in a long-term committed relationship and they're no longer in a relationship. How to deal with children when you're meeting children, because as we get older, our children are very critical.
Yeah.
And kids, I can tell you as somebody that's experienced and has dated, you're meeting somebody's kids, John, is worse than meeting their parents.
Yeah.
Because sometimes their parents are ready to get them out of the house. So it's just because, kids feel threatened too.
Sure.
As whether they're younger
And
or
protective.
older, and very protective. So I think that's very, very important. So I wrote a bit about that, and just, putting yourself, or if maybe you're dating somebody that is in the professional world and you're retired.
Yeah. And
that's something that I come up against all the time. And that's why I've kind of put myself off the market. Because if somebody because I'm 70, I'm not going to lie about my age, and I meet somebody, they are more retired, they don't really keep themselves active, and I don't have the same type of time
Right.
sometimes to really devote to it. So it really takes a lot, and I'm glad I wrote the book. I think it's important that people understand what it takes to date again, and it's a little bit harder to date when you've been married, whether you're widow, divorced, because you know what to expect, but that doesn't mean your next relationship is going to bring you the same thing that your previous relationship brought.
Different people.
Absolutely, different time. But definitely dating apps have been taking over, as opposed to that's the way to meet people.
Really? I thought they were, I thought they were big for a while and then kind of waned.
No, they're getting to be, especially the thing is today too, is the dating apps, especially prevalent in the younger generations. But the key thing is what's happening is sometimes they're keeping it limited, so they're only texting for the longest period of time before they really meet.
Yeah.
And you're building up a relationship texting, you need to talk, you need to hear a voice, and you need to move it and meet them in person.
And that's the thing about emails and texting. I mean, especially in my work, I have to do that a lot. But I prefer that one-on-one communication, whether it's face-to-face or even if it's a Zoom or a phone call, because a text or an email cannot always give you the right feeling of what the hell are they talking about? What did you mean by that?
And sometimes you have autocorrect that happens, and it's not necessarily what you said. So my sister sent me a picture a couple of weeks ago. She was down in Laguna visiting her daughter, and her granddaughter is at that age where she has a boyfriend. She says, "Oh, look what her boyfriend just brought over after he got arrested." After he got done with whatever. I started laughing. So it can, this does happen.
Yeah.
It happens, but but it is the way of the world, and I think texting is great, very limited, and I think people.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, I do can see the value in that is getting to know the person first.
Mhm.
Kind of,
You don't know on text. You still need to hear a voice
Right.
and meet them.
But I'm saying at least you can get an idea of, oh, you like football too. Oh, okay, or oh, I love car racing. Yeah, that's that kind of thing. Oh, what kind of music do you like?
But when they use acronyms is when I'm really thrown, because I had one person said, "Well, I'm going to be hosting a GOT party." What's a GOT party? Game of Thrones. So, if you don't know the acronyms today, if you're not caught up,
yeah.
like, okay.
See, I didn't know that. I mean, I'm a Game of Thrones fan,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what that meant. So we're kind of
Sure.
getting close to the end here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure you get out there to the audience?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I want to start with you have been so gracious to me and just a gem. And what I love about you is you're generous in your spirit and also wanting to introduce people in the community where you feel there could be a connection. So I love that. And I think that's important today as far as, getting to know people and developing relationships and having trust in them. But, when it comes to, let's talk about what I do as far as an officiant.
That's why you're here.
That's right, exactly. When you're ready, first of all, take the time to find that right person. Sometimes, as I see, a lot of people are caught up in the whole event of getting married.
Yeah.
Their friends are getting married, they're having babies, and you feel like you're left behind. Or you're no longer in a relationship, you're older, and everybody else has a partner. You need to take the time to find that right person for you. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Your mother waited 9 months. Take the time to get to know somebody. And when you decide to get married, I think it's wonderful. We love people coming to Las Vegas. And that's an event, something that you're going to remember for a lifetime. But you don't have to break the bank to do it. You can have a great experience. You don't necessarily have to spend $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. If you have that kind of income, you have that ancillary money aside, that's great. It's more important that when you get people together, you're celebrating your love for each other. And the people there support and love you are going to be there to support and love you. Because we all know that relationships take a little time, and sometimes we have challenges. And if you're getting out there and you're doing a wedding ceremony and you don't know, go to my website, check it out, because you only have one shot. And there are no do-overs when it comes to wedding ceremonies. And in the meantime, stay healthy, happy, and safe.
What is your website?
TrueLoveKnots.com, TrueLoveKnots.com. Also, if you search me out on Google, Maria Romano, there's me, and there's also a younger DJ, Maria Romano. That's not me.
Okay.
So just Google me. Thank you.
And all of the information is on your website.
Yes.
I've been there, and all your contact info and how they can contact. And I really want to thank you for coming in. This is awesome. I mean, that's why this show is here, is to help get the information out about there is so much talent and so many fun things here in Las Vegas that we're not always aware of, and so that's what we try to do. So anyway,
It was a pleasure. Thank you, too.
and for all of you out there, just remember, I appreciate you supporting the show. I appreciate you supporting all the shows here at WWDBTV. And remember, if you're going to do it with styles.
Nice work, John.